3 days till game day. Super excited about our opportunity to start this season. It's felt especially long since we played. I think just because we've had so many experiences together in the offseason building up towards this first game. It's exciting in a lot of ways, but most importantly so that we can get started on a 23-24 season because I think I speak for all of our guys and our coaching staff that as much as we appreciate the 22-23 season, as much as we enjoyed it, that season's over, and we're really, really looking forward to seeing what this year's team can do in Fiserv Forum and beyond.
Do you kind of have a eve of the season message? Like obviously you preach a similar message all year long, but do you have an eve of the season message as you get ready for that long journey?
Yeah, I mean, our messaging is pretty consistent throughout the year. We want to build championship habits. We're about 5.5 weeks into that process as it relates to the start of practice. But the games give you some feedback that practices do not, because there's people in the building, you're playing another team, there's popcorn popping, and when the game gets done, especially this time of year, but really all year long, there's so many mistakes you can learn from and even things that you did well that you want to build upon. So for us, the message going into game number one is be the best us, continue building on the habits. I think our guys have made some major strides, even from last year at this time, in a lot of different areas as a team. But it doesn't matter if we don't bring those things to bear when the ball goes up in the air. We're excited about our veterans being leaders, each and every one of them, and about our new guys getting their first taste of college basketball. Ready or not, here we come.
Did everyone make it through the preseason healthy?
Well, it's always something that we monitor every day, to be honest with you. As we stand here today, I believe all of our guys will be available. We had some bumps and bruises coming off of earlier this week. Our guys practice hard, and they're in there every day competing with one another, and it's physical. And so every once in a while there's things that are bound to occur. We say expect the expected. But our guys have done a really good job taking care of their bodies, getting in the weight room, getting in the training room, and getting themselves ready to go for November 6th.
So Shaka, with what you said, once the banners drop, you're done with that, you're moving forward. Is that an accurate assessment?
Well, I think anytime you go into a new year and you have a good amount of returning players, what you try to do is take the successes from their past years and learn from those without any type of accompanying entitlement. And then you try to take the failures from our past experiences together and you try to learn from those without any accompanying guilt or regret, because those things are over. You can't change them. They are what they are. But as we talk about all the time, we understand what's important now is what goes into winning. And so any banner or any wins we had last year, any highlight videos, any of that stuff, it doesn't do anything for us November 6th against Northern Illinois. When that ball goes up in the air, they have 5 Division I players on the floor, as do we. They want to win, as do we. Now all of our competitive habits on the defensive end, on the offensive end, and most importantly culturally together are going to be what leads us to victory.
You got to compete against a couple teams in those closed-door scrimmages. What did you learn most about your team from those?
Learned a lot from the scrimmages. We scrimmaged Missouri, and then a couple weeks later we scrimmaged Michigan. Grateful for those teams playing us. I think for every team, us and them, the exciting thing is you want to be a different version of yourself by the time you get to the first game than even you were in a scrimmage. But I think in the scrimmage for us, we got a chance to look at some different combinations. We saw some guys show the ability to respond. We showed our team have the ability to come together. Against Michigan, we played a ton of special situations at the end of games, so we got a great opportunity to see who could execute in those. And we saw some guys play better in the scrimmages maybe than they even have in practice, and that's exciting.
Is that your philosophy? You like to experiment with in those situations, in those scrimmages?
Absolutely. I mean, you're really trying to do two things at once. You want to win, you want to be competitive, you want to win the possession offensively or defensively, but at the same time, you know that this is an opportunity to move your team forward from a growth standpoint, and you want to look at different combinations.
Have you noticed any difference in approach, the way your guys attack the weight room or practice or anything since that number for your name came out in the preseason?
No, the number next to our name I think matters a lot more to you guys than it does to our guys. We had a number next to our name for a good amount of last year. It wasn't as high of a number as we have now, but you know, by the time the top 25 comes out a week or 2 or 3 into the season, all that stuff gets jumbled up anyway. And the reality is preseason rankings are probably the most flimsy rankings there are in any sport because people don't really know. I mean, look at what we were ranked last year or projected last year in the Big East. So, no, our guys are not working differently because of a number next to their name. Our goal is to have an intrinsic motivation that we've got a game in 3 days or 300 days or 3,000 days. We're working towards being the best we can be in that.
What is your message to players on how they can handle high expectations?
Following our process, having a good practice today, focusing on today. Today's an off day, and I was just in the weight room, and we got guys coming through the weight room. We got guys in the gym getting shots up. We've got guys getting treatment. These guys understand there are things that you have to do to continue moving forward. And that's whether people expect a lot of us or not. Last year, we had high expectations. Externally, there was low expectations, but we had high expectations. So our guys are very, very grateful to get to be the gladiators, and then everyone else in the arena is the crowd. And the crowd's expectations are going to go up and down. That's fine. But every time, make no mistake about it, we take the floor, we have high expectations of ourselves.
You hear stories about Al going up against Oso in practice. Al might not be strong enough yet to compete in that matchup, but what have you seen out of Al's competitive nature?
Al is really making progress. I'm super excited about Al, super excited about Caden. The future is bright for us up front with those two guys if we can continue to develop them and help them grow and improve. And the biggest thing, as we always talk about, I know this sounds repetitive, but it's growing them as people. Because as they gain sturdiness and toughness and resiliency and confidence and communication skills, the basketball part's just going to go through the roof because they're both really, really talented guys. But I've been especially impressed with Al's willingness to keep coming back. It is hard to play against Oso. Oso's got a lot of tricks. He's hard to deal with because he can do things away from the basket. He can do things around the basket, particularly when he's got you outweighed by 35 pounds. But Al keeps coming back every day.
Stevie had mentioned before he was excited about playing in lineups with him, Sean Jones, and Chase Ross. What do you like about that lineup? Do you think you will see that a lot?
Toughness. I like toughness in that lineup. I think those are 3 guys that we can play together and extend the floor and press. We, like any other team, will go through stretches, I'm sure, where we feel like watching from the sideline, we need an injection of energy and toughness and violence out there. That's a threesome, along with maybe an Oso and Zay Lowry, Tyler, if he's in that type of mood, that can go out there and, really, really fight and maybe even, extend the floor and full court press.
When you're talking about those combinations, obviously going from practice to games, practices, you can try any combination you want. How far into the season do you think it'll take before you really settle into these are my rotations, these are my sets?
Yeah, it's actually tricky in practice even because unless we're playing against our scout group, then there's got to be another team out there. And so you always have to factor in the gold and the blue. Again, unless we're just going against our walk-ons. But in the games itself, we have a starting lineup that we've started so far in our scrimmages, that we started in our games in Italy, and that was David Joplin in for Omax's slot, and then the 4 returning starters. Chase Ross has been the first guy off the bench. Sean Jones, Ben Gold have been in the game early and often. And those are our 8 returning guys. I think of our freshman Trey Norman is the furthest along, just from a physicality standpoint and a competitive maturity standpoint. But we're excited about the development of Zay Lowry, and we think in a lot of ways, if he keeps getting better, he can be similar to what Chase Ross was for us last year, where he can blend in with a lot of different lineups. All those guys I mentioned can play together, I really am excited about taking a look at Ben and Oso together, because that's a lineup where, for once, we actually might not be oversized. You know, and I don't mind. I don't mind when the other team has more size than us, as long as we play with more skill and more speed and more toughness. But there's umpteen lineups. You'll see Chase in there a lot with some combination of 4 starters. You'll see Sean in there a lot with Tyler and either Cam or Stevie. And Jop's a guy that we're going to move around a lot as well.
You just got done with the verse before coming here. Stevie said the fact that you do what you tell your players to do makes them want to run through a wall for you. So why is it so important for you to...
Well, I want to run through a wall for him. If you don't want to run through a wall for Stevie Mitchell, then something's wrong with you. I mean, this guy is as high level of a human being as I've been around. And I don't ever want to take for granted that I get to be on the same team with him. I'm serious, man. Every day I come in here, I look at this guy. I see what he does upstairs in academics. I see the way that he carries himself on campus. And his leadership is starting to emerge more and more, because he's feeling more comfortable with himself as someone that can speak up and tell other people what to do. So the reason that a lot of us as coaches try to hold ourselves to a high standard is that we're trying to keep up with those guys like Stevie Mitchell, Oso Ighodaro, Tyler Kolek. And that's the type of dynamic that you want in your program.
You have weekly themes. Why is that something that you do, and what was this week's?
I just like getting people's attention with something. You know, a lot of it is the same stuff. The theme for this last week of the preseason was low-hanging fruit, because we really felt like, and it's not like we won't feel like this next week, but we really felt like, hey, we're going into our first game. There's a lot of small areas that we can still capture and be better at and help our team take a step. By far the most important of those aspects of low-hanging fruit is cultural, and that is telling each other what we need from each other. It sounds very, very basic, but if we can do that, say, twice as much as we did last week, then we will be a better team. But low-hanging fruit this week, and then going into the Northern Illinois game, we will have a game theme, but I can't tell you that till after the game.
Shaka, as a coach, is the opening of the season and the home opener almost like a birthday or Christmas?
Grateful, man. I'm grateful.
Okay.
Incredibly appreciative to be with these guys. I mentioned Stevie, but Oso, Tyler, Cam, Jop, Cam Brown. Those guys, we've all been together. We're going on our 3rd year. And there are some absolute titans in that group as people. I'm not even talking about players yet, as people, that when they're gone, I promise you, myself, Scott, all the rest of us around here will be like, man, we miss those guys. And so that's my most overwhelming emotion going into our first game, that, hey, I'm grateful for these guys. I'm grateful to walk onto the court with them. And then just Marquette, man. We're at Marquette. I mean, this is the place to be, in my eyes. We play at Fiserv Forum, as nice as an arena as there is. We have some of the greatest fans there are. Our fans are extremely excited. Yeah, there's high expectations. What else would you want? I mean, this is what we want to do. We're basketball coaches and players. We're in the Big East. We get a chance to open up against Northern Illinois on November 6th in our home building, and we've got a phenomenal non-conference schedule. And we're going to take it one day at a time. And there's going to be ups and downs and twists and turns, but there's no place I'd rather be.